Hello, football lovers. If you're following the latest news from the world of football, don't forget to like this content and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all the analyses and updates on the biggest controversies in the world's most popular sport. Today we're diving into one of the most explosive cases in recent times, the legal battle between Kylian Mbappe and Paris Saint-Germain. A dispute involving €55 million, serious accusations, and even the possibility of the French giant being excluded from the next Champions League. Get ready for a complete analysis of this case that promises to shake the foundations of European football. In a move that surprised the football world, Kylian Mbappe's representatives officially announced this Thursday that the French striker, currently at Real Madrid, has decided to go on the offensive against his former club, Paris Saint-Germain. At the center of the dispute is an astronomical sum, €55 million, approximately $330 million, which, according to the player, has still not been paid by the Parisian club. Mbappe's lawyer held a press conference in Paris to announce that she will appeal to 3 different judicial spheres, civil, labor, and criminal, to demand payment of the amounts owed to the striker. The process began in February 2024 and, since then, PSG has not fulfilled its contractual obligations, declared the player's legal representative during the announcement. But what makes this case even more explosive is the request made to UEFA for the highest body in European football not to grant the necessary license for PSG to compete in the next edition of the Champions League. The lawyer revealed that she has already met with representatives of the entity to demand a review of the case, citing a specific article of the regulations which establishes that a club cannot receive a license for European competitions if it has not fulfilled its salary obligations to the squad. To fully understand the dimension of this conflict, we need to go back in time and analyze how the relationship between Mbappe and PSG gradually deteriorated until reaching this point of total rupture. Kylian Mbappe arrived at Paris Saint-Germain in 2017, initially on loan from Monaco, in an operation that would become permanent the following year for approximately €180 million. At the time, the 18-year-old prodigy was seen as the great bet of the Qatari project to finally win the much-dreamed Champions League. In the following years, Mbappe established himself as one of the greatest players in the world, winning multiple domestic titles and reaching a Champions League final in 2020. In 2022, when it seemed certain that the striker would transfer to Real Madrid, PSG managed a surprising renewal, offering unprecedented financial conditions and supposedly guaranteeing the player decision-making power in sporting matters of the club. However, the honeymoon didn't last long. In 2023, the first clear signs of dissatisfaction from both parties began to emerge. Mbappe informed the club that he would not activate the automatic renewal clause in his contract, which meant he could leave for free in 2024. PSG's reaction was drastic. The player was removed from pre-season and even trained separately from the main group. After weeks of tension, Mbappe was reintegrated into the squad, but the relationship was already irreparably compromised. Throughout the 2023-24 season, the behind-the-scenes climate remained tense, with the player practically packed and ready to move to Madrid, while the club tried to minimize the damage of losing its biggest star without receiving financial compensation. The most dramatic aspect of this conflict is, without doubt, the request for UEFA to prevent PSG from participating in the next edition of the Champions League. This request is based on Article 66 of UEFA's club licensing regulations, which establishes rigorous financial criteria for participation in European competitions. Among these criteria is the requirement that clubs be up to date with their financial obligations to players, staff, and tax authorities. If UEFA determines that PSG violated this regulation by not paying the amounts owed to Mbappe, it could theoretically deny the club a license for the 2025-26 season. However, sports regulation experts point out that UEFA traditionally reluctant to apply such severe punishments to large clubs, preferring fines or other less drastic sanctions. Additionally, PSG, as one of the most powerful clubs in Europe and with strong political connections through its Qatari owners, would certainly use all possible resources to contest any unfavorable decision. The dispute between Kylian Mbappe and Paris Saint-Germain transcends the sporting realm by far. This is a case that involves international contract law, geopolitics, elite sports finances, and the growing tension between the institutional power of clubs and the individual influence of superstars. In the coming months, we will closely follow the developments of this conflict in civil, labor, and criminal courts, as well as possible UEFA decisions. Whatever the outcome, one thing is certain: European football will never be the same after this epic battle between one of the greatest players in the world and one of the richest clubs on the planet. If you liked this analysis, don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to follow upcoming updates on this case and other great stories from the world of football. Also share in the comments your opinion. Are you on Mbappe's or PSG's side in this dispute?